holy that was bad. Like, what were they thinking? That was everything I hated about the first movie up to 11.
In retrospect, that was a mild overreaction. So yeah, I saw the FNAF movie too, and it was absolute dog water. It was an inside joke sporting lowest common denominator fan service at the expense of a story that made sense, was well written, and had any appeal beyond die-hard fanatics who just wanted to see their favorite animatronics on a bigger screen. And it was especially aggravating because while the first movie wasn't great, I hesitate to even call it good, there were still things about it that I appreciated and showed lots of potential for refinement. But I guess when Scott and the filmmakers said they were going to listen to fan feedback and incorporate it into the sequel, what they meant was what people responded positively to, not how to actually improve the movie. So everything that triggered dopamine receptors from the first movie was up to 11 in the second movie. Whatever criticisms viewers had about characters, tone, and pacing were ignored, and throw in Scott Cawthon as the sole writer, accidentally betraying that he can't write a dignified or airtight screenplay, and you get Five Nights at Freddy's 2. The movie, not the game. And before you all go off about how I'm not a real fan or I don't know Five Nights at Freddy's, let me introduce myself. I'm Nick. I was a junior in high school when the first Five Nights at Freddy's game dropped. The perfect age to get into that series, arguably. I remember when the Wikipedia page had a step-by-step guide on how to evade each animatronic. I was the first. I have seen everything. I played the first few games, but I watched Let's Players, studied the lore, consumed theory videos, pretty much absorbed all that I could up until about Ruin. Not too familiar with Special Delivery, Into the Pit, or Secret of the Mimic, but that won't matter for this video. My favorite entry is Sister Location for several reasons, including but not limited to gameplay, story, dialogue, and humor. A security breach reimagining I made 3 years ago went viral and broke FNAF Twitter for a few weeks, and I spent the next year reading, researching, and reviewing every FNAF novel and anthology series for this channel. I also co-developed a fan game called Pizzaplex VHS that drew from my reimagining and was featured by Fusion Z Gamer, Dawko, and 8-Bit Ryan. I'm also a published horror author, links in the description, and I hit a FNAF reference in my very first novel, Hell's Gulf. No one's found it yet, so get going. So yeah, kindly leave any accusations of inauthenticity at the door. I think I qualify as a fan. Do not cite the deep magic to me, witch. I was there when it was written. Anyway, amid the worst copium epidemic we'd seen in 2 years, there was one line I kept hearing from the film's defenders. Some variation of, it was awful. 10 out of 10, I loved it, I saw it 3 times. Which is a tacit admission that they know the movie's bad, but it cemented itself as a guilty pleasure. Okay, valid, I respect it. But let me ask you this. Are you proud that a film adaptation of your beloved game series, which is already a huge accomplishment, can't rise above the bar of guilty pleasure? People will enjoy what they enjoy for their own personal reasons, but wouldn't it be nice to have a film adaptation whose quality matched your passion? Something that you could actually show off to others without any trace of irony, others who may not be as privy to FNAF as you are, and actually have them enjoy it and think it was good enough to stand on its own? How cool would that be? No? You'd rather have fan service? Slop? So bad it's good? Alright. I mean, I'm a fan myself, and I'd be insulted by that notion, but go off, I guess. Side note, when the Outlast movie comes out, I will not hold back any punches. If I think it's slop, I will call it slop. But we'll get there when we get there. The other thing that's frustrating is that these movies absolutely did not have to be this way. All these fans making excuses saying this is how a FNAF adaptation would play out. No, it's not. Like, it's really that simple. No, it's not. As for how and why, though, well, let's discuss. How could we fix the FNAF movies? There's a few places we could start. First, an actual FNAF property I've talked about in the past. The Silver Eyes trilogy. While the quality of the entries varied wildly, I found the narrative direction they took was not only interesting but admirable. Instead of following established canon, the novels diverted yet remained parallel, carrying hints of the lore we knew while doing its own thing entirely. The novels got backlash from fans who were expecting answers or lore continuation, but I saw them as a way to tell a story that revealed hints, while also at liberty to provide a new experience. Secondly, an entirely unrelated property that nonetheless has uncanny similarities. Stephen King's It. I invoked It when I first talked about The Silver Eyes. Both feature a cast of characters reuniting at their hometown, a hometown plagued with a history of murders, themes of memory and childhood and coming of age, tragedies involving missing children and a serial killer who happens to be a British guy. While I'm not too keen on the It miniseries, 2017's It Chapter 1 proved to be a very competent and enjoyable adaptation that stood on its own and didn't have to rely on constant references. Now, I don't know what the fuck happened with Chapter 2, but that's not important right now. With these two properties in mind, and drawing from other conventions in horror cinema, I think we have the start of a playbook for a hypothetical Five Nights at Freddy's film reboot. Number 1. Make a movie. Don't adapt a game. While the first movie attempted standing on its own as an independent story, it still seemed more preoccupied with showing elements from the games than telling a fleshed out narrative. The second movie... oh geez. How do I put this delicately? It abandoned all dignity and pretense that it was supposed to be a film, and instead just jam-packed the screen with as many recognizable gameplay elements as possible, right down to a whole silly-ass sequence with a Freddy mask. Trust me, that was delicate. While the games themselves are not explicit with their stories, theorists and sleuths have pieced together a convincing narrative that proves FNAF's cinematic chops. And the Silver Eyes trilogy proved you can tell a distinct story that can be substantive while maintaining familiar elements. So why not do that? Be ambitious and tell a story that not only emulates a property's strengths, but stands on its own as a movie. You also don't have to be completely dead set to the lore. It Chapter 1 left out, condensed, or changed dozens of plot elements from the book, yet it was very deliberate and methodical with what it kept, while also maintaining the novel's spirit and tone. For the most part. I don't know who needs to hear this, but movies are not games. If you make a movie that primarily serves to showcase the property it's based off of, then it's little more than a commercial. Fans will claim the FNAF movies were passion projects made with love, and sure, probably. But if a film has good intentions yet still commits the same sins that a cynical cash grab would, is it really any better? 2. Set it at a time when things happen. In my opinion, the choice to set the movies decades after the restaurant's heyday was not a good one. I know that's what the Silver Eyes did, but the direction they went kept my interest. Meanwhile, the movies took place years after the restaurants collapsed, focusing largely on characters who weren't even there, and the ones that were there are not the focus. The actual history and mystery of the franchise takes a backseat to custody battles and self-induced dream therapy. Riveting. We know the missing children incident took place when business was booming, so why not focus on that time? Why not feature the crimes, the fallout, the subsequent haunting and fall of Freddy's as a franchise? Focus on a cast of characters in the 80s, you know, who actually witnessed and lived through the action, and then in the same film or sequel, do what both the Silver Eyes trilogy and It did, and explore what happened in the years following. The potential for dynamics and thematic resonance is much richer with this setup, at least in my opinion. Additionally, the success of Stranger Things and It Chapter 1 proved that 80s nostalgia is a very bankable trend right now. It's something that both fans and general audiences clearly don't mind seeing. 3. Deliver with the violence and horror. I can hear the comments already. Oh, reimagining security breach guy wants more violence and gore. Yeah. Okay, maybe not those levels of violence and gore, but for PG-13, these movies are pretty tame. For reference, here's a list of movies that are not only more violent, graphic, and scary than the FNAF movies, but are also rated PG-13. The Insidious franchise, the Quiet Place franchise, The Ring, Cloverfield, Split, World War Z, shitty movie but still scarier than FNAF, Poltergeist, technically rated PG but would be PG-13 today. Fucking Robert Zemeckis' A Christmas Carol, which isn't even PG-13. The FNAF movies did contain a few gnarly moments, but not enough to stand next to the vast majority of horror out there. Even the sequel, which promised to be scarier,
Horror fans in particular really wanted this one to be even scarier.
still relied heavily on the cut away from the action style of horror. They really had to stretch to hit that PG-13 rating. Just throw in a few random curse words and there, that'll do it. I've heard the argument that these movies are meant to be gateway horror for younger audiences, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm not saying there can't be gateway horror for younger audiences, but regarding the FNAF movies, it just sounds like cope to me. The potential for good, strong horror is latent in the games. Horrible things happen in them. William Afton is a child killer. Let's actually lean into that and explore it in the cinematic medium. The films don't have to be Terrifier, but they could do with some more teeth. The blueprint for good horror is there. In the games. Let's use it. 4. Make it about the Aftons. At some point in the games, we realized that the main characters weren't the unfortunate night guards sitting in the chair each time, but the Aftons, with Michael being the recurring protagonist across the series, if the theories are correct, and his quest to both unearth and destroy his father's legacy. The movies did something different by making Mike Schmidt his own separate character, but not only did they shoehorn in the Aftons, both William and Michael, and Vanessa, who seems to be slowly filling the role of Elizabeth, they also downplayed them significantly. Vanessa's not given a proper treatment, William only has like 5 minutes of screen time per movie, and Michael just...
Look how they massacred my boy.
People have said the most compelling parts of FNAF 2 were the scenes with Vanessa and her father, and I think that's for good reason, because that stuff is interesting. I want to learn about child killer William Afton, why he did what he did, his relationship to his family and the franchise. Not whatever's going on with the Schmidts. We can have a straight man protagonist we can follow and root for, but their story shouldn't be the sole heart of the film. The Aftons deserve, at least, to be just as important. The Silverized trilogy, specifically the Fourth Closet, excelled in making William more compelling than he ever was in the games. Remember, much of what we know about the Aftons comes from theories. The FNAF games had an untapped gold mine in the form of the Aftons. The movies made them a sideshow. Give them the treatment they deserve. 5. Do not rely on fan service. I'm not saying there can't be fan service, but relying on it to the point that the FNAF movies did? No. When people like Emma Tammy and Scott Cawthon say they're not listening to critics and instead listening to fans, it doesn't quite mean what you think it means. They say they're listening, but what they're hearing is whoever's loudest. And coincidentally, or conveniently, whoever strokes their egos. The people who clapped and screamed at each Easter egg. The people who went and saw the movie 3 times and enjoyed it each time, yet didn't engage with it as a movie and had nothing bad to say about it. Look, I'm sorry, and this may come off as harsh, but those people are not the ones you should be listening to. They're children. Or they have the mentality of children. They know next to nothing, if anything at all, about horror as a genre or film as a medium. They engage with very little beyond Five Nights at Freddy's, and even then, they're unable or unwilling to think critically about it. If you enjoy the FNAF movies, that's fine. If you see them as guilty pleasures or shallow amusement, that's fine. But you also can't pretend that they couldn't have been better. You can't pretend that they're anything more than what they are. And you certainly can't blame everyone else for not seeing it your way. Even critics. So in regards to this playbook, I'm not saying it's the way to fix the FNAF movies, but it is a way, and I think it's a good one informed by my experiences as both a FNAF fan and a horror creator. Here's a dirty little secret. If you make a FNAF movie based on the things you just heard, sure, you might piss off that loud portion of the fan base who expects one-to-one representation, but you know who you might win over? Casual fans general audiences, critics. If filmmaking truly is a numbers game, then shouldn't they be the numbers you shoot for? And you know what else? That loud portion of the fan base I just mentioned, they're still going to see the film and every other film you put out. So you're still getting their numbers, if not their full-throated approval, which shouldn't really be your primary goal in the first place. I genuinely hope the third movie turns out good. But if they continue this trend of appealing to the loud and the easy to please, then it's not going to be a good movie. And it's not going to be a good film series. And the thought of that, to me, kind of blows. It got me thinking about if these movies turned out a little different. Enjoy.
Excuse me? I didn't get a... Hey, could I have a slice? I didn't get one.
No, wait, get your own.
Did you know today's my birthday too?
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Well, this isn't your party.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, turn your attention to the main stage. Are you ready for the band? Because the band is ready for you! Watch it!
I'm sorry.
Look, sorry, kid. You can't be near that. Foxy can't perform today. Go on now.
Hey! What are you doing? Oh, give me that back! Why are you trying to steal my presents? Katie, I'm sorry. I don't know why my mom invited you. Why don't you go wreck your own party? Just leave us alone, Susie. We don't want you here.
Well, hello there. What's wrong? You see a ghost? I think we're alone here, just the two of us.
Bonnie?
Bonnie? That upstart, please. I'm the original Bonnie, but you may call me Spring Bonnie, the Yellow Rabbit, or Mr. Hops. Actually, no, that was my vaudeville name. I doubt the parents would approve of that one. So, what's your name?
Susie.
Susie. Ah, you're the birthday girl.
Yeah, but it was Katie's party today. I don't really get birthdays.
That wasn't your party? Then... what am I supposed to do with this?
Then this one time, Katie put a jar of marbles in my locker, and when I opened it, they spilled out all over the floor. I tried picking them up, but it made me late for class. But I got her back. At recess, I caught a frog, and I hid it in her desk, and when she sat down, it jumped out at her, and she screamed.
Fascinating.
Katie's mean to me, but I didn't mean to mess up her party. I guess I wasn't thinking.
I understand.
But her party wasn't as cool as this. Getting to hang out and have cake with you. Today was a bad day, but you made it better. Thank you.
Of course, sweetheart. What else do you want for your birthday?
I don't know. This has been the best birthday ever already. Last time I had a party was a while ago. 3 years ago, to be specific. My grandma threw the party. She has a big grassy yard. And I was running with her dog, Rufus. The sun was out. I was laughing. I don't have a nice sunny field like that at my house.
Is that what you want?
Yeah, I guess.
I can do that. I can give you a big, nice, sunny field to run around in.
Really? How?
Follow me. You and me will frolic and dance in that nice, sunny field. Forever.